evening to you. Welcome to the Learning Experience Conversations, which we are having with teachers and educators and people who are working with schools. This happens every Friday. Besides the Learning Experience Conversations, we have the InspireX. Inspire Experience Conversations, which happen with all our Karmavir Award recipients at large. And then, of course, on Wednesdays, we have the Youth Experience Conversations, which is with our young students and young leaders from colleges and schools. So it is a pleasure having you on the panel with us. The conversation format is that for the first 45 minutes, E2 would speak with you to draw certain insights about what you are doing in your school, so that can add to the learning of people who are in the audience and all our participants. And then in the last 15 minutes, I would come in to ask some pointed questions and also share some insights with you. And that's the basic format. I did send out a mail earlier today that how schools which are expensively priced, are they really kind of imparting the right education? And I'll touch upon some of those factors later. So with that, I hand you over to Itu, and I shall become a fly on the wall and join you in the last 15 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jerry, for welcoming on your esteemed platform. I'm
Thank you,
looking
ma'am.
forward to it.
Thank you, ma'am. Excellent. We
Thank
look
you,
forward.
Jerry. Yeah. Namaste, Dr. Sangeeta, once again.
Namaste.
We are so glad to have you with us once again, almost after 1 year. And we were so delighted to have you on our maiden journey of Education Change Champion Awards, where your school work and the work that you're doing with your students is an eye-opener and such a great inspiration. So let's dive straight away into conversation and see the learning and the inspiration that we get along today once again. I'd like to begin with that you call yourself an instructional and transformational leader. Tell us about your journey with the school students, where students come from so-called marginalized section. So tell us about that journey. Tell us about transformation and instructional leader that you call yourself.
Thank you, Itu. I must say that when you said that you share with you in the beginning, I can say I don't need to say the word marginalized, because I believe that when it comes to intelligence, feelings, emotions, performances, there is no demarcation between the rich and the poor. Everybody is same. It is only the matter of opportunity. So for me, my inspiration are my thousands of students for the last 30 years, 3 decades of my work. And you can imagine thousands of students out in the world. They keep in touch with me, they call me, they talk about their lives, ups and downs, not only achievements, but when they are depressed, or they talk about their children now. And you can imagine the kind of happiness I derive from that, the kind of inspiration I draw from that. Coming back to instructional leader, yes, I identify with myself with instructional leader, because when you talk about who is an instructional leader, we can see there are qualities like, the leader has to be visible to his staff and students, has to be very, very optimistic, always believe in collaboration and team building, continuous learner, which I really believe in doing that. And I have continued with my education, with my upgradation in technical know-how and new technology. And even now in the lockdown, I have learned so many things, because I have to keep up with the pace. I cannot be pessimistic. I have to learn new things. And in this journey of learning, I must tell you, Itu and Jerry, that my students help me. And I really feel it is such a pleasure to learn from your own students. And then I believe in research and planning, and then about the current trends, empowering teachers, empowering the staff and all the subordinates, and believe in distributed leadership across the institution. That is who is an instructional leader. And these are my drawings, and I feel that yes, I am an instructional leader, and I have to be positive. I have to keep realistic expectations and have a vision for the school. And while talking about the vision for the school, I have always found that in my school, from the beginning, my vision statement of my school says that equal opportunities for everyone, no child should be left behind because of lack of resources, and the school has to have the best of infrastructure compared to any international or any high fee school. And my management, that is Kandivali Education Society, has always been uh, besides me, or you can say always been in this dream of mine with them, and without which it was not possible to achieve. So today I can proudly say that yes, I'm an instruction leader, and I have a dream, and I try to fulfill that dream with my children. Yes, Itu?
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's very beautiful thing that you said. One, that it is only the matter of opportunity,
Yes.
and I also use the so-called marginalized because your school is an aided school, and children come
Yes.
from
Yes.
not the so-called elite part of the
Of course, of course.
city or something,
Yeah.
and there is uh, earthy feeling to the learning that is given
Yes.
them. So it's more about learning experiences.
Yes,
So
yes, you are very
that's
right, because yes, children do come from uh, who cannot pay fee to for the. They may want to make their children study in an English medium school, but they cannot afford a high paying fee school, though they may want to. So this was the basic thing which you can say motivated me to provide the best of facility to these children, because I always believe that children coming from wealthy families, parents can afford so many things for them. They can send them to innumerable classes to learn all kinds of things, and they make them, give them all the opportunities available. But our children, although they have talent, but they cannot afford, so everything has to come into the school. So the role of school and the responsibility of schools become higher and bigger in these for such children. And you should see the delight on their faces when they achieve something, whether it is small thing or it's a big thing.
so I remember, last when we spoke a year back when you were there on our Education Change Champion, Rex Karambir Education Change Champion Awards.
Yes, yes.
One of the things that you had mentioned, and I was a little awestruck, and that was that you had asked some of your students to volunteer to see if they would want to have no invigilation exams, and then when you gave that opportunity and that kind of a learning to them, most of them opted for it, and that talks a lot about real learning that is happening, not just going to school and studying, but learning. So tell me two stories or two anecdotes where you would say that your school and your students are at par with anywhere that education is being imparted in the best of school in the country or in the globe. And those two stories are an eye opener for everyone. Share those two as well.
So I also draw my inspiration from so many seniors, and this particular thing, that is supervision less examination, I
Yeah.
learned from my senior principal from Jamshedpur, Madam Vijayam Karta, in an ETST conference at Panchgani I of C. And she was talking about how she had implemented this supervision free examination in her school and for so many years. So I thought that why not I do it in my school, because for the past 4 5 years it was happening that teachers would, during the examination, teachers were very very upset by the way children copy and the way they bring chits, and how, no matter how much you take care about it, this copying thing was increasing, and they have no remorse for that. So we have been thinking about it, how to bring it down, how to develop that feeling of that ethical value in them, that it's not right to copy and all, it is for your own good, this examination is happening for your own assessment. But very difficult to make the children understand. So when came to know about this, I thought I must try it, and we tried with the standard 10th, and we told them that, see, this is your 10th standard, this is a board exam, and so before that, we want you to be well prepared, but we don't want to monitor you during your exam, because this exam is for your own assessment. After this you are going for the public exam. So initially when we did it, we failed miserably, because although there were CCTV camera everywhere, but still children, they found opportunities and they copied. So the teachers were in tears ki ma'am, we can't practice, we can't have an experiment on this, let us not have it in our school, our children are not made of that material that they will follow this. But then जैसा कि मैं थोड़ी जिद्दी हूँ, मैं हार जल्दी नहीं मानती, बिकॉज मुझे लगता है कि अगर ऐसा ही होता तो हमारे देश में वी वुड हैव नॉट गॉट कलाम, वी वुड हैव नॉट गॉट प्रेमचंद, एंड वी वुड हैव नॉट गॉट शास्त्री, अगर ऐसा ही था तो. So we started all over again, and I conducted meetings with children, with teachers, talked to them about it, explained to them why we want to do this with you. And I don't know, maybe that hit it, and one class was ready for it, just one class with 70 children, and they did. And once they did it very sincerely, and that was a Gujarati medium class. The other classes, when they saw that this class is doing it so well, and they also started coming to me and asking me, ma'am, can we also have this? Why only that particular class is given this opportunity? So it was a, you can say, it was a win situation for us, that children are looking at it as an opportunity. So I must tell you that this happened, it was successful, teachers were happy, and it stopped copying, of course, because now the ball was in their court and they knew that they can copy. But then that trust that came with it, they realized. And this happens in all the relationships. See, in the school also, we have to build our relationships with our children, and relationship is everything. I strongly believe in that. If you want to get things done, or if you want to achieve something, it is the relationship which really really takes you ahead, or it pulls you back. And the relationship with the children, of trust is the biggest thing. And that trust, when the students realize that they have trust on us and we cannot break the trust, they did it and it was successful. Till now we keep like this in an optional manner, we don't make it compulsory, and it is happening. And I must tell you, the children, the first batch, when they came to meet me after their board exams, and I saw that bunch of happy children, and you know what happens when you have so many students, all the children start looking same to you, and I can't recognize which batch, which what name. So I just asked them, and then they're saying, ma'am, supervision free exam batch. So that togetherness,
Okay.
that ownership, that togetherness, that bonding happened. And this, I'm sure they are always going to remember this as a lesson of their life. And this is really a very very big lesson I have learned, that yes, when you trust somebody, when you make them believe that you trust them, you can achieve things. So that was one thing. And another thing that we have been experimenting in my school was about, because almost 30% of students in each class, uh, every class faces this problem of indiscipline, using bad words, or very bad behavior, aggression, violence. So this is becoming very very common. So what I did in 2015, there was a group of teachers who approached me saying that, ma'am, if these children are there in the class, we cannot teach, and it is very very bad for our reputation, for our institutions, because they don't know how to talk, they beat each other, they spend time in the washroom, they pass comments on, not only on the girls but also on the teachers. So we don't want such children, please give them LC. And I have never believed in giving leaving certificate to anyone. I think maybe I can count on fingers, out of thousands and thousands of students, maybe few only must have got leaving certificate on bad behavior. So I told them, ki, let us, because some of the complaints were really serious and it was harming the girl students in the class. And parents approached saying that this is a co-educational school, ma'am. What are you doing? Do something. So I had to do something. So I told teachers, ki, before it was January and the exams were in March, I said just a matter of 3 months, and let them appear for the exam. We gave them a warning. We restricted them for 2 3 days, gave them a warning that if you still continue with such behavior, you won't be allowed to appear for the final exams. It wasn't, they were, some were in 9th, some were in 8th, so mostly boys, all of them. And what we made a plan to put some treatment to these children. And I conducted a mini research on these 70 students I picked up. From each class there were 5 students like this, mixed them with the normal students and made a group of activity students, and gave the teachers to prepare them for a concert for 1st May. And then for 4 months this treatment was given to them. They were introduced to dance, music, dramatics. Academically they were taught mathematics and English every day. And these activities after school, And it happened, initial days were very rough because teachers were not able to handle them, but gradually after talking to them, and at the end of the 4 months, my research, my statistics showed that there was less violence, aggression had come down, self-esteem had gone up, and most of these students performed very well in the exams. One student who was the most ill-behaved and stubborn, he got 85% marks in 10th, and he took admission in science, and still there he just passed 12th. And so I can say that love is the answer for any problem. And with this research, and this paper was published in B.Ed college in Tilak college Pune in 2017. And it is like it's a research paper now, that if we introduce children to such activities, those who are not studying and those who are misbehaving, let divert their mind from that. Studies automatically happen when that happiness comes in the studies, and then they realize that we have to study also. But then their aggression, there are so many underlying factors of this aggression. It is just, now children are very uh, simple at heart, but they go through a lot of stress at home and the community. And this is a result of this. It's not so simple, we have to think about it. So these are two things I can mention. And another thing that I have learned from IOFC was quiet time. My whole school goes for quiet time for 5 minutes after recess. Right from the gate till the top floor, everybody sits quietly for 5 minutes, reflects, and do the sharing after that, whatever comes to mind. And this has helped a lot of stabilizing their minds. And I would say, so at a time, 5,000 children sitting quietly in the school for 5 minutes is a scene to see.
Is a
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, so beautiful things. We at Rex Karam, we talk a lot about integrity. We talk a lot about trust, because when we nominate people from all over the world, and we don't know, some of them may fake what they are doing for impact and all, and we extend our trust to everyone. So when we give trust, integrity comes out. And when we give trust, I think people are transformed and reformed and inspired. And that's exactly what has happened. And another thing that you shared was that when you take children towards creativity, so
Yes.
when we are creating something, our own creativity is fueled. And when you create something, when you birth something, that's so beautiful that it actually gives you a lot of inspiration to better yourself. And I think all your approach towards your children is so empathetic. Empathy has played a very, very huge role. And
Love and
empathy,
compassion, answer to everything.
yeah. And the third thing you talked about was this 5 minutes of solitude.
Yes.
I would call it solitude, because solitude is very, very meditative, and it brings out so many great, brilliant ideas when we get into solitude. My next question to you would be that you're a great advocate of marrying up of tradition and technology, and
Yes.
these two things are um, something to reckon with in your school, and you've used tradition and modernity and technology in a very beautiful way. Tell us about, where do you see this amalgamation showing great, beautiful results?
Everywhere. Because when we talk only about technology and then using technology, in my research also, which I did from the University of Mumbai, my topic was using ICT tools in a traditional setup. Because in a school like ours, when we have 70 students in each classroom, we cannot isolate each child with a gadget like it happens in some with schools, which is
Elite
actually
schools.
required to be happening. It should happen that way, not possible because of the numbers. And so what our children must learn by teamwork. If technology also is there, it has to be integrated with traditional teaching. Teacher has to monitor them, so teacher has to bring in her own input, take help of technology. So this we started, our school became digital in 2008, when seven, 5 or 6, when schools had just started thinking about it, and best of schools had maybe one class of digital classroom and rest classrooms normal. We digitalized the whole school with 100 classrooms all at once. And at that time, the whoever was the company, they gave us a very good offer because it was an aided school, first time doing it in
Okay.
Maharashtra.
Mm,
So they gave us a very good offer, how to pay and how to go about it and all. So we started with that, and I must say that my teachers, who इनिशियली दे केम टू टेल मी कि मैम हम तो रिटायर होने वाले हैं, अभी आप हमें कहाँ फंसा रहे हो कंप्यूटर में, हम कहाँ अभी ये यूज कर पाएंगे, ये फोन भी हमारा पुराना है, वी हार्डली आर एबल टू मेक कॉल्स एंड ऑल. सो दैट वाज द टाइम व्हेन some 57 58 year old teachers. But then I must tell you that after a few meetings and few presentations and all, everybody realized that yes, if I use this technology even little bit in my teaching will become so much better. I'll get
mm,
more attention of children, and they followed it, they learned it. I would say that even after retirement, some of the teachers are working on it. And now during the lockdown, it has come as a boon because most of my teachers are used to this technology. They again upgraded themselves, they got trained by to use the Google Classroom and everything. And
mm.
today, if you see, I have to just be an observer, and my teachers are just holding their classes like leaders on their own, and it's such a delight to see. And then there are so many students who just don't even have phone.
Mm.
So how to reach to them? So what we do is we connect with them either through internet, through video lessons. Then there is another option of WhatsApp lessons where children are made to understand through that. Then if nothing, phone everybody has. So through connection through phone, children can call me also. I have almost 5,000 students just directly under me, and all my numbers are with everyone. Not that they keep calling me. They will call me only if they don't get answer anywhere else. But they have a freedom to call me, and they do call me sometimes. Sometimes I answer them on the messages. Sometimes I answer the call. And these children, some of them have gone to villages because of being the migrant, or maybe auto rickshaw drivers or vegetable vendors. They had to go leave, they went away. And anyways, during May June, they always have a system of going to the village for farming or something. So they went there and they are stuck there. Those
Mm.
children are also attending our classes, and those who are not able to get direct connection on internet, they are using internet of a cyber cafe or something in the villages. Everybody has it. We put up videos, teachers are making their own videos and putting up on our YouTube channel. Children can anytime access to it, go through it, understand it, call the teacher, ask the questions, or put the questions on the WhatsApp. So there are various means. So I can say integration is always better. We can't go by a stick and this method ki, no, we are going to do this and everybody has to. It doesn't work in our school, at least.
Yeah. So another thing that I like to ask that we spoke about it also, that you're using a lot of traditional stories to
Yeah.
talk about a lot of learning that
Yes.
you would like to impart to your students, and
Yes.
you're using the traditional methods. Tell us about some of the traditional stories, Amar Chitra Katha and things like that you've been
Yes.
using, because you
Yes.
are passionate about it,
Yes.
and you are doing, you're using tradition to impart lessons. And how is that happening? Tell me more about it.
Yes. So, coming to stories, somebody had asked Einstein that I want to make my child. One parent asked him, "I want to make my child like you. What to do? What can I do?" So he just told him, "Tell them stories."
Yeah.
So the parent said, "Okay, stories is fine, but what else can I do to make him like you?" He said, "Tell them more stories." So this is the
Hmm.
power of storytelling, and even our own tradition, that is Panchatantra Katha. The stories of Panchatantra, written in Sanskrit initially by Vishnu Sharma. This was a king whose children were not studying. He tried everything. He was a king.
Hmm.
Then this teacher came, Vishnu Sharma, and then he said, I will tell them stories. And the king said, whatever, do whatever you can.
Hmm.
And then how that's how this Panchatantra stories came in. And Vishnu Sharma taught those princes with the help of stories. And if you go through the stories, you will find that they are teaching you all kinds of values, lessons. And even with the help of poetry, with the help of songs, you can teach them better. Even there's another incidence of Einstein when he was going doing this theory of relativity, and his 11-year-old son was doing piano, and there was some complaint from the teacher or something that he is not into studies, he's only into piano and carpentry. He told him, कि son, even if you like piano, I'm happy about it because it is better than your school, because you learn so much only by doing piano and carpentry. Because
Yeah.
when you do that, you get so engrossed in that you forget about the time. That is, he's relating the theory of relativity like that. So anything, when you do and you get engrossed, you love it, you like to hear it, you learn more, rather than going through unnecessary lessons and teachings. So this is how poetry, and so I try to make panchatantra stories into poem, because poetry writing is in my genes, you can say. So I have started doing it, and I record it in my own voice and then send it to my children, some songs, some stories. During this lockdown, it has really worked wonders, and my students are very happy to
Yeah.
receive these prayers and songs and stories. Yeah.
So to that, I would say there's a word called janoon. Jo karo, janoon se karo,
Of course.
shiddat se karo,
Yes.
devotion se karo, or once it becomes a part of your habit, then whatever you touch upon, you will do it very well.
Anything. आप
And
एक चाय बनाने जाओ और अगर आपने बन से नहीं बनाया तो चाय अच्छी नहीं बनेगी. That
bilkul
is called
shiddat.
mindfulness. That is called
Yes,
mindfulness.
absolutely. And you're talking all the things that we have spoken and we are writing and we're talking about in our school program that we soft launched. Also, the values that the values are the pillars of any life, and the power of the values is so much that takes you forward. It's not what you studied, it's not what your numbers, it's not your scores, it's not your
Definitely.
marks that doesn't take you any forward.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd like to ask you one thing, that you have a technical and a vocational section in your school,
Hmm.
and it is also linked to placements. So how does that work? Because you're also imparting some kind of a security in when children go out of school. So
Yes.
along with learning and teaching, the students also have skills. So these skills, not only skills in their own character, but these skills to find a bread outside, because we all need to have some vocational skills to kind of
Yes.
stay afloat in life. So tell us about that.
Yes, talking of technical skills, in our school, that is a secondary school section, it is very few schools in Mumbai who have, in fact, you can count, it is only 3 schools in Mumbai who have government aided technical section along with SSC studies. So here
Okay.
the child, along with his standard 10 syllabus, he also studies 2 years of technical subjects along with regular studies. These technical subjects teach them. Nowadays, they have brought in the course very they have shortened it down. Earlier, it was plumbing, carpentry, welding, machine drawing, engineering, machine drawing, and electrical, electronics. Now, and computer science, of course. Now it has come down to electrical and electronics, and they learn about all kinds of electrical repair, if in the household and in the normal course, like tube lights, bulbs, and all those electrical things, little bit iron, mixie, these things can be repaired. That is in the school. And in the junior college also, there we introduced vocational courses like computer science, electronics, electrical maintenance, and mechanical maintenance. So I can say that very few junior colleges of science have all these 4 courses running together, and child can opt any one of them. The reason behind it was because as I my there are some strong beliefs that I have, and this is one of my belief, that when a child works in a with practical things, with his own hands-on experiences, he learns more. Like you tell him, he may not understand, but when he does himself, he understands
Yeah.
better. So that was the reason. And in our technical section also, there was a time when nobody was opting for that subject because they have to stay back after 1 hour after school twice in a week. But then gradually, by telling them that, see, even if you don't become an engineer, but if you study these subjects, you develop a scientific temperament, and that helps you even if you become a housewife, you homemaker, or even if you are not doing anything, or you go and take commerce and arts later on. But if you have studied these subjects, they are going to form your personality in a very different way compared to others. And really it has worked today. Children, they just cry. Just now also somebody called me ki ma'am mera naam nahi aaya technical mein, what to do, because we have only one division and it is government aided, we can't charge fees, so we have to have that batch of 70, not more than that. So this is the importance of it, because after 10th they can even start their own business if they cannot afford to study ahead. They can start working in, like an electrician, or help help somebody, and then come do some 3 months 4 months course, and become independent businessman. I mean, small scale, they can start their work. And in the junior college also, when children work on these machines like mechanical and electrical, and when they go ahead and join IITs or any engineering college, they come back and children say only one thing. All of them have been telling this for the last 15 years. I listen this every time when children come back to us to meet us. They say, मैम जो प्रैक्टिकल हम लोगों ने यहाँ पे किया, वहाँ पे हम सबसे आगे रहते हैं, because हमारे जो साथ के बच्चे दूसरे आते हैं, they just cannot, many of them don't even know how to, heat this chemical in a beaker or in a test tube. They don't know, but we have done it so well in the college, and the machines and all, they have helped us so much that we are always ahead, and we always help the teachers to teach the other students. And this is the real, I can say, a satisfaction of doing a job well, when your children come and tell you this. And this helps them a lot, I must tell you. And I would request, so many colleges are not taking practical very seriously nowadays. There is a, somehow there is a fashion of not attending college and just going to the classes and going ahead. I This is a humble request, please don't do that. You are playing with their lives.
Yeah.
And
So
that's how children in IIT also commit suicide, because they are not able to cope up with the stress.
yeah. So you're catering to the need of the hour, which is entrepreneurship. How we need to bring entrepreneurs, because there are only that number of jobs, or there are no jobs now with this new pandemic. All of that, probably there are no jobs, and the kind of connect that you have with your students that you talk about, it looks like a model school, and so many things to imbibe and imbue from. Tell me something that during this pandemic times, there has been so much of change and all. How have the students and parents also, you keep in touch with your
Yes,
parents a lot,
yes,
because you believe in that homogeneous approach
yes.
to better the child's mind and their lives. So tell me something about that. What has changed in your relationship with your children? Have you become closer to them? Have parents, even the parents who are gone back home and all that, are they still that participatory? And how does it all go? Because things are so changed.
Yes, I must say that we have become closer to, it's not just me, but all my teachers and entire team of my teachers. Because when now the classroom is in the house,
Yeah.
it's a screen that the child has in front of him, and the entire house observes it. So the teacher is not only talking with the child, but also sometimes mother, father, anybody pops in and the teacher talks, or I talk. When I conducted meetings with parents, normally in the school, parents come, one comes, either mother or father, and they listen and they go away. It's a very formal setup. But when I conducted this time my meetings with my parents, I could see on each screen they were, mummy, papa, and bacha also sitting with them. And then I had to, change my whatever I had to say, keeping in mind that everybody is there. So I can't just talk only to the parent. I have to keep in mind that the child is also there. So we had a totally different kind of interaction. And I asked, there was a question of, when I was talking to them about empathy and compassion, and I was asking them, do you ask each other, how are you? So I asked the child, do you ever ask your mom, mom, you look so tired, because there are no maids nowadays and everybody has to do so many things. Do you ask her, can I make tea for you? So children are looking at their mothers and say, no, mummy always asks me, what do you want to eat? And what, I never ask. So now start doing that. So it was a totally different experience, and we could interact as a family, I would say, this time. So things have changed. I think this pandemic, not very good, but then we have to look at the silver lining behind the clouds. Things
True.
are correcting itself, things are changing.
True. Um, I know that you have also transformed yourself as a principal and a teacher during this pandemic, and you have been singing a lot, and you've been using the music therapy, so to call,
Yes.
and you've been using music as a therapy to heal them and to make them learn few things. Tell me about that, and if you'd like to hum something, Please do hum
Yes.
and sing something for us.
As I,
Tell us, give us
yeah.
a little short peep into what kind of a lesson, singing lessons do you send them?
I can say I have divided into so many parts. Like there are some prayers which go to the children once in a week. So I pick
Hmm.
up prayers which are already there. They used to sing in the school. Like
Hmm.
there's a multi-faith prayer, like Om Tat Sat Shri Narayan too. Then there are prayers which children are used to singing. हम होंगे कामयाब या इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता या हमको मन की शक्ति देना तुम ही हो माता पिता तुम ही हो. So I record them with music and then I make a nice video and then send it to them, so they feel as if they are in the school, and it's like they feel happy about it. Then there are certain songs which are there in a treasure of a film industry, which are not very much heard by people nowadays. Children especially have never heard, like Tora Man Darpan Kehlaye, which talks about that your heart is your mirror. And then there are songs like मीठी मीठी बातों से बचना जरा दुनिया के लोगों में है जादू भरा. Like these kind of songs I pick up and sing and tell them, sing for them. Then there are songs from other languages like Marathi, Bengali. I try to sing Gujarati, and then I do like that.
So what is the feedback from the students and the children on this?
So in the last meeting, when I asked children, it was a seventh standard, and I asked them, "Do you listen to my prayers that I send you?" They're
Hmm.
saying, "Yes, ma'am." So which prayer you want to listen? So one child told me, "Ma'am, वो हे शारदे माँ नहीं सुना हमने." So
Okay.
next time I recorded that and sent it to them that way.
So another thing that I'd like to ask, that your students have you've been in teaching for 30 years, and your students are at par with any student that would have come out of elite, expensive schools, so that we call. And you've met them, some of them in US, some of them in different parts of the world, and they are at par with whatever they are doing.
Yes, yes.
And so tell me a little about that, and how does it make you feel that these children who thought they didn't have enough, or children we think that they don't have enough, but if given an opportunity, where they have reached, and how proud they are making the country, school, and themselves, and also being such a beautiful inspiration.
Oh yes, they are no different than any other children. But yes, the difference was in their, you can say, the kind of houses they stayed in, small houses with so many people together. Because it's a Mumbai city, and we all know that housing is the, the biggest issue here. So more, and then in terms of school, yes, they always got love and affection of teachers. But when it comes to the child, I always believe nothing. There is no nothing that can, there's no hindrance when it comes, if the opportunity is given and the child wants to do it. And I remember about Smith Parma, who was my first batch. He was in 2002. He passed from our school, and then he went ahead and he has become an IPS officer. Today he is posted in Odisha. He's in touch with me. One click of button, I give him a message, back comes the reply, and he comes, he meets. Then I can remember so many children, like when we went to NASA last year in NASA with my college students, and at Niagara Falls I met this boy, and he just comes with a child in his lap and he's saying, मैम आपने पहचाना. एंड देन आई से अब पहचानने का तो सवाल ही नहीं होता, बच्चे सब एक जैसे लगते हैं. आई टोल्ड यू, बट आई कुड मेक आउट ही इज माय एसवीपी स्टूडेंट. आई कैन मेक आउट. And then he introduced to his wife, and he's a software engineer at Google there. And there are so many students doing so well in all parts of the world. They talk to me about their children, they talk to me about their career. And when one child was very good in music, and there is a child here, Pradeep Gandharv, he's doing very well, Prithvi Gandharv, in film industry. And he was the one जिसको घर से बुला के हमने एसएससी का एग्जाम दिलाया था. उसको पढ़ाई में कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं था, एंड ऑल एग्जाम्स मिस किया था. इंटरनल हमने घर से उसको लिटरली घर में टीचर को भेज के उसको बुलाया था, और ओरल एग्जाम अभी देना ही पड़ेगा. ही वाज क्राइंग, मुझे नहीं देना. एंड टुडे ही सेज कि मैम आपकी वजह से मैं पढ़ लिख गया, नहीं मैं तो सिर्फ म्यूजिक में जाना था. ही वेंट अहेड एंड डिड हिज ग्रेजुएशन. So I think these children need a lot more. We need teachers of such schools, such children need to take extra steps to let these things happen. It happens. But yes, responsibility of teacher is much more in such schools. And India is full of such children. I would say 65-70% of children are in such schools.
Yeah. So would you say that empathy and compassion in your teachers and your approach to them with empathy and compassion has taken you forward and uh, got you these success stories, as you say?
Yes, yes, yes. It keeps me going. It will keep me going. I would love to read out a poem for you, which is, I like it so much. And it's
Go
from the
ahead.
Bible, like drinking from my saucer. Like, I never made a fortune, and it's probably too late now. I never made a fortune, and it's probably too late now. But I don't worry about that much. I'm happy anyhow. And as I go along life's journey, I'm reaping better than I sow. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. It's a
So
beautiful
beautiful.
yeah, I remember times when things went wrong. My faith wore somewhat thin, but all at once the dark cloud broke. The sun peeped through again. I'm drinking from my saucer. My cup has overflown. And may I never be too busy to help those others bear their loads. Then I will keep drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. This is what I feel. We all the teachers must think like that.
Yeah, so because teachers are not just teachers, they're reformers,
Yeah.
transformers, and awakeners. They bring out the best in us, and how we touch the child, teachers, and with what chord are we touching them, that
This is
brings
our
out
wealth.
their best.
Yeah, this is our wealth. The teacher's wealth
Yeah,
is this.
yeah. And I think that this is the most, the noblest profession, as they say. But then when you're touching upon the children so beautifully, you're making the world a better place. So it's a very beautiful devotional work.
Yeah, thank
On
you.
that note, I'd like to bring Jerry on here and take the conversation forward and bring out the insights from the learnings from your conversation. Hi, Jerry.
Yes, hi. Hi, too. Yeah, great conversation with Sangeeta ji, ma'am. Thank you so much for all the insights. And that was a lovely poem which teaches you abundance.
Yes.
And unfortunately, in our world today, and what we teach in schools today, especially the elitist, expensive schools, is not abundance. We teach scarcity. Would you agree with that?
Sometimes, yes.
It's not sometimes. I
I
don't
mean,
think there
true,
is a
some
diplomatic
things
answer
it
to
just
this.
happen because, yes, they are my colleagues. So
Right. No, the reason the
not
reason
everyone does that, but I must tell you.
the reason I say that is because everything is competitive, and competition is good to a certain extent as long as it is founded on win-win and fairness.
Yes.
And most people don't understand the concept of fairness. Fairness does not mean that everybody gets equal share of the pie. Fairness means that you get in as much as the effort you put in, I get in as much as the effort I put in. Unfortunately, a lot of people who come out from expensive elitist schools with their manipulations and 6 degrees of separation and nepotism take away most of the resources and leave very little for the people who really work hard and put in a lot of work. Now, this is what is happening around the world. And I don't think they're shying away from this, because whether it is media, government, corporates, or even the UN and NGO organizations, you can see this happening. The entire outcry about nepotism is happening because of Bollywood today, because of Sushant Singh Rajput. And nepotism, everybody's taken it to the next level because an actor died, because we are a country of idol worshippers. But the point is, nepotism is there in every sector. It starts from school, right? I remember I didn't want to use any references or any kind of favors or any kind of sifarish, as people call it, because even sifarish is a form of corruption, right? To get our kids into school. So I actually to question the school. And when I tried to get some parents together to question the school as a collective, some other parents actually told me that if we do that, then we will miss our opportunity to use our 6 degrees of separation and get our kids into school. So I said, how are we different then from those bureaucrats who have taken the seats by using their power? So you are the same. So this I think is a very elitist, entitled mindset, which again expensive education somewhere nurtures in us, including not just educators but also the parents at home, because the entire concept of education has been reduced to career, lifestyle, and luxury. It is not about contribution, it is not about creating value, it is not about making a difference in society. But how do you just climb up that ladder? and use up as much power, fame, fortune, and glory as you can, right? By hook or by crook, as they call it. Now, which brings me to the, somewhere we had spoken about this entire concept of the unvigilitator. Now, why would you require unvigilitator if you are teaching them character and trust? If you're actually having a person there unvigilating during the exams, it basically boils down to lack of trust. And it's not lack of trust in the children. It's lack of trust about the educators and teachers, because if we've not been able to teach them that character, that you don't need someone to supervise you
I tell you
to.
one thing. During this pandemic,
Yes,
when I was conducting meetings with my children and parents, that how now we have to go ahead with this because you're not coming to school. I told children, see, children, now your school is your screen. Whether you're using a mobile phone or your computer, nobody comes between you and your screen. Your teacher is far away. She doesn't know what you're doing after that. Your parents are there, but then they don't come in between. So now you and your screen, you are there. So one child asked me how we will know that we have learned or not. Who will test us? When will be the exams happen? I same thing I told them. See, now nobody is between you. There's nobody on your head to look at you what you have learned. You have to now see whether you have learned or not. You have to try to learn some answer, write it down, check it yourself with the textbook whether you have written it correct or not. Nobody else will judge you. You are judging yourself. This is what is required today.
and absolutely true. And that's the way it should be, because the moment you have an unvigilator who's supervising and, kind of keeping a strict vigil on kids, it boils down to a ecosystem or a culture of distrust. So if we have taught them that you need to be supervised all the time, then the discipline does not come in, right? And that's exactly why, I joke with people in corporate India and in organizations where I coach them, that the only reason people like me are employed is because you don't have the discipline and the team spirit, which has not been taught to you in school,
Correct.
right? Because otherwise you didn't need supervision, right? Today you don't have just one manager. People have dotted line reporting, functional reporting. So each person reports to three managers, because of which they're so miserable.
Correct.
But that is coming from this entire culture of distrust, which starts from school,
Yes.
right? Now
Yes.
you should see a typical soccer match happening in school. The
Mhm.
kids are playing, and the parents at halftime are knocking them on the head that, why did you pass the ball? It's a match of soccer.
Yes.
What are you teaching your kids not to pass the ball? And then I joke with the parents, as thanks to parents like you that people like me have jobs, because today we're teaching them how to build teams in
Correct.
in the corporates. So,
Yes.
somewhere the entire education system and what they are learning in school is completely disconnected from the real world.
And you know what? Children learn what they see, and it boils down from the top to bottom. If
Absolutely.
I don't go behind my teachers policing them, children understand that here I have a leader in each classroom. I have leader everywhere. Even my peon doesn't need to be supervised. You
Absolutely.
know.
I'm just going to share this with you. I sent out a post today on mail and in, because we were going to have you on the show, and I wanted to make a statement, because often we see kids who pass out from the premier IIMs and IITs, which is of course taxpayer subsidized education, so they get it cheap, but it is still expensive education. And I
Yes.
always joke with people who go to IIT and become, they're pursuing engineering, and when I'm talking in IIT, I deliberately tell them stories of people like Lakshman Singh and Chuang Norfel and Sonam Wangchuk, etc., and then tell them, look at the way these people are changing the world without having gone to any premier institutions. And what will you do after attending the premier institution? Join Hindustan Lever and sell soap.
Yes.
So why did you come for an engineering degree then? Because if you wanted to sell soap, you could have just gone and done a salesman's course and an MBA and gone and sold soap. So why did you take away somebody else's seat who could have become a serious engineer or a serious doctor?
I want to tell you one thing. I forgot to share. Yesterday was the HSC result, and I had a student in 12th science who is completely blind. He's 100% blind, and
Right.
he wrote his examination through a software which talks, and then when he types, it talks. So it can be written or something like that, and the paper
Right.
prints. And he's very hardworking. His mother has really worked hard. He scored 90.32%. And the child was preparing for IIT, but he got so bugged during the 2 years that he stopped preparing for that, and he started applying for on online and he got admission in Stanford. And today, when his result has come and everybody is after his life, how you did it, and all media and everyone, he is sitting whole night and he's attending his classes in Stanford. He
Right.
says, I'm not bothered about IIT and all. I don't want to go there. I will go there. Why I will go to Stanford? Because I want to do something for children like me. In my country, still children face so much of problem. I'll make some software so that children, blind children, come up on their own because they are very intelligent. This is what that child says.
Very nice. So you have created a kind of a culture and a learning of give back,
Yes.
which is exactly what my post was. So I used the line from J.D. Salinger's book. I'm sure you read The Catcher in the Rye, and in the very first chapter, he says that the more expensive a school is, the more crooks it has. And I would like to extend that by saying the more crooks it also produces. And I'm not kidding, he says. Now,
Correct.
this is the first statement in the very first chapter where the character called Holden speaks about this Pensy school that is going to, right, which is all the people from the elitist class, and how they are having this sense of pride and entitlement, and how he finds it very snobbish and he thinks it's just an advertisement. And that's exactly what a lot of schools are doing today. When I work with educators, and when I work with school owners, and when I work with people who are investors in the education field, for them it's not about education, it's all about monetization. And they somehow like using this word world class
Hmm.
in
Correct.
Yeah.
in their jargon, in their rhetoric, in their brochures, on their
Global
website. And
class.
for them, what world class means is having luxurious infrastructure, fancy campuses, air conditioned classrooms. And they've not understood that what makes an institution or an organization or a school or a college world class is the pedagogy or the andragogy that they impart. So I think the mindset is completely wrong. And I was very happy today to have received a mail from a person. I won't name him, but he's the MD of one of the Fortune 500 companies, and surely has gone to an expensive school himself. And he says, Jerry, thanks for sharing an outstanding note. Completely agree. I have been on the board of the leading boarding schools in the country, and after 3 years left completely disillusioned. Don't think most schools care about learning. While career ladders aren't all bad, you would be surprised how many senior leaders I have met, many on my own teams, who can't write at an average level. And certainly, empathy and decency, if taught, will make a massive difference in the impact of businesses and organizations. These are the words of a MD of a Fortune 500 company, right? Who's written to me. I can't name him, but he's surely gone to an expensive school, and he completely agrees, because I train people like this who don't have any idea of what emotional intelligence is, what empathy is. Their writing and their speaking skills are atrocious, the communication skills are atrocious. So then what is the school and the college teaching them?
Correct.
I'm seeking some insight from you.
Yeah. See, creativity has to be taught to the children right from the 0 to 15 years of age, 14 years of age,
Right.
because that is the age, is very very impressionable age. That is the age when children, whatever that subconscious mind is very very powerful at that time. So whatever goes in at that age remains in your life throughout. And I would say that the what you said just now, that the children can't write, they can't sustain, they can't, that is all because they have not been taught to create their own space, create their own happiness. And
Absolutely,
everything is
because
given to them, everything is
absolutely,
provided on a platter, even in the school for that matter, you said.
absolutely, absolutely.
And yeah.
And none of these world class schools with all this expensive infrastructure can talk about innovation in learning and education methodology. And that's why I
Yes.
use the example of, show me a Anand Kumar with Super 30s happening in any of the expensive schools, colleges, or coaching classes. It's not happening. And then I also said, watch a movie called Dead Poets Society, where he actually makes a statement that the books are all useless. Why are we dumbing down people and putting them in a box and not really harnessing and unleashing their creative skills, their critical thinking skills, their logical thinking skills? So I think the entire education sector and the teachers and the school owners and the educationalists have to pull up their socks, because this is a huge responsibility. Because if an industry leader is saying that about his own colleagues who have also gone to expensive schools, that they can't even write letters, they have no clue what the skills of the future are. You talk to talk to people about emotional intelligence, they don't know. Around 5 months back, the lockdown happened. This was I think end January or February. One of the people who I was coaching, again from one of your Fortune 500 MNCs based in Bangalore, he was planning to go for his next job shift, right,
Mm.
from a VP probably to a director or a president or whatever the titles and hierarchy are, because that's what education has been reduced to. How do you climb up the ladder, make more money, and get some so-called status in life and have a
Yeah.
fancy lifestyle, right? And he tells me, Jerry, I just joined this course called Leading with Emotional Intelligence on one of the online portals, right? And I said, brilliant, I'm so happy to see that you've got into a discipline of learning on your own. So I told him, I said, tell me a little about, what did you learn about emotional intelligence? And he said, I've not gone through the course material as yet. And I said, how long back did you join? He said, around 2 months ago. I said, then why did you join? No, I wanted the certificate because I was applying for this new job. Now, this is a senior person, vice president level, again from an elitist, expensive school, with the parents who taught him and teachers who taught him that if you have a good education, you'll have a good career, you'll have a nice car, and you'll have a good lifestyle.
Yes.
And I
Correct.
told him, I said, my friend, if there is somebody like me sitting on the interview panel and he asks you, tell me a little about emotional intelligence, you just failed the interview, because you've
Yeah.
shown me that you have no integrity, you have no character, and you cannot be trusted.
And the
Now
pandemic.
now you
Yes.
understand what invigilators in schools are doing to people.
Yes. Yes.
And also
You're
not
very
have
right.
the learning to learn.
And during this
Absolutely,
pandemic, it has really taught so many lessons during this period, that no, actually, if you know how to create your own happiness, you are happy in these times. All your
absolutely,
cars, all your offices, all your jewelry is just
absolutely,
kept in the
absolutely.
locker.
And unfortunately, because of the poor education they've gotten, this all these expensive
Yes.
schools, and I call it poor education and
Poor
expensive
education.
schools,
Correct.
right? They think that the happiness is in the next big car or the next big raise or the next big promotion or the next big house, without realizing that happiness is inside out, not outside in.
Yes.
And
So
that is the reason we created the entire Rex Karmovir Scholar Fellowship, which is the International Volunteering Olympiad and the Life Skilling League. And the whole idea was to impart to children that character based learning, which teaches you leadership, life, and learning to learn lessons to lead a humane, holistically healthy, and happy life.
and you
So,
don't have to do big things for that. Small
absolutely,
little things in the school
absolutely.
can do wonders.
And I always say that I don't know when people will realize that it is not big things which make the big difference. It's the small things which make the big difference.
Yes.
And those small things get ignored. And many people think more is more without realizing that the mantra is less is more in any dimension of life. So, pleasure speaking with you. I'm going to forward that post. You can forward that post which we sent out today. It has a lot of insights, right from J.D. Salinger's book to Dead Poets Society, and about how parents also don't, when parents seek admission in schools today, whether it's the Ambani school or the Malia school in Bangalore or the Ambani school in Bombay, I think they look at the air conditioned splendor, the fancy reception, the marble used. Nobody's asking, hey, what is the pedagogy and the andragogy or the methodology of teaching that you employ? Nobody asks those questions. So I think there's a huge responsibility to also train parents about what are the questions and what should you inquire when you go for a school admission.
And when RTE came up, right to education to each, equal and equal education to all,
Right,
instead of making all the schools at par with good standard and good academic and infrastructure,
right,
government allowed poor children to come into these elitist schools and study with them. What happened to them after 8th standard, nobody knows. And these
absolutely.
children are scarred for life, I would tell you.
See, I mean,
Studying
whether
from first to eighth standard with in an elitist school, a wise son or a Jharuwala's child, they got admission, the child studied. What happened after that? Nobody knows.
No, I am a champion for inclusive education, which basically means that they are all the same. Nobody is less or more. I I know in the beginning, A to use the word so-called marginalized. They are not so-called marginalized. They are marginalized. They are not poor by choice. They are made poor by a design.
So I
So
believe that, I also believe in that, but I believe that all schools should be at par. They can be
no,
elitist
no. So
schools, no doubt
absolutely,
about
that
it.
when you read the post that I sent out today, you will know that that's exactly that. Quality education should have been free and provided by the state for all children with
Yes,
the same standard.
yes.
But whether it's the current government or the past government, इनको फुर्सत कहाँ corruption करने से और petty politicking कर, they're just indulging in corruption to fill in their pockets, whether it's the PM Cares fund by Modi now or Kapil Sibal who started Right to Education. There was no thought process which went into it to make it standard. It was just implemented knee jerk reaction. कुछ दिखाना है
So
कि हमने कुछ किया है.
meanwhile, Jerry, people like
Yeah,
us, teachers like us, जिनके
right,
पास एक स्कूल है जहाँ 10, 12, 15 हजार बच्चे हैं, every
right,
year आते हैं, we will do our
right,
little things. We'll
right.
do these things so that children become empathic, children become compassionate, they become, yes, they
and
can.
I would say no, I don't believe in God, but I would say thank God for that. But the impact that we can have
We can
with
have.
people like you can be impacting all the children out there if people in government and people in education, especially people who sit on education boards, create the right kind of governance and the right kind of policy to make quality education a standard process, which
Yes,
is either very affordable or absolutely free for all people. You don't need to go to private schools. The
yes,
private school concept should be completely abolished. Every school should provide the same standard.
yes.
Now, by just making inclusive education without really going into the nitty-gritties of things, it was implemented badly. And in many schools, people don't want those children also, whether it's parents or the school management. So I think it's a huge fight. But that said, inclusive education is the way forward because there is so much that one can learn. Because it's like I keep telling all the kids in expensive schools. The last school I
It
spoke in
has to
was
be, it has to be holistic. You cannot just put some children in some school and then leave them on their own. What
absolutely.
happens to the birthday parties? What happens when children open their tiffin box? What happens when they open their bags and they compare their compass boxes? So
I completely
happens to
agree with
that.
you. You know, that's what I was saying, that the last school I spoke to was in Vellum. Our sons go to a school called Shriram, and Shriram, as a private school, also tries to maintain that standard. But then you still have some irresponsible parents who'll give away expensive gifts as return gifts and so on. So I think that is a process which should be mandated now. There has
Yes.
to, if people don't follow a discipline, then you have to enforce it, right? At the same time, I was speaking in Vellum School, and my message to the boys over there was, the Vellum Boys School was, don't think you're better than anyone. It's just that your parents could afford to send you to this premier institute. But never forget that there are many more children and many more students out there who've never had this opportunity, who are much more talented, much more better than you. They've just not had the opportunity. So never feel entitled. You have to earn your place in the sun. And don't think just because you come out of premier institutes, you are entitled to a fancy job and a fancy salary. Because that's why most of the children go to the IIMs and ISBs, because that gives them a starting salary, and to heck with what they have to make a contribution or the value that they have to create. So I think there's a huge learning over here which is important, whether it's our children or the children who are left out there, that everybody has to earn their place in the sun. But that said, I completely agree with you that the education process has to be holistic, has to be standard, so that every child gets the same quality of education, because giving them poor education doesn't serve the purpose at all. And then you also have NGOs, and I'll say this straight, who use this things like 1 million children taught to read. This is an NGO called Pratham.
Mhm.
And I was surprised, because you teach children how to read for 2 months and then you leave them back again in the same state they were. You've not done any favor to them. You left them worse off. Just this 1 million numbers, 2 million numbers is just a way of doing fundraising in the United States and UK. So the entire sector is full of, unfortunately, I call them scamsters, because these are education scamsters. And what are you doing to the children out there? Because you're messing up the children even more.
फिर वो काम भी नहीं कर पाते जो उनके पेरेंट्स करते हैं। अगर कारपेंटर का बच्चा, वो कारपेंटरी तो सीख नहीं रहा है,
हाँ
वो तो
बस
करेगा ही नहीं, ये तो इस लायक भी नहीं बन पाता कि यहाँ कुछ कर सके।
एब्सोल्युटली,
वो है फिर
एब्सोल्युट बस अपना रीड इंडिया कैंपेन करने के लिए उनको 2 महीना रीड इंडिया बचाओ ताकि आप और फंडिंग ले सको और कहीं से।
here the vocational education, skill based education comes in, where children learn some skill and then make their life on their own.
Absolutely,
That should go
absolutely,
in all the schools.
absolutely. So thank you so much, great insights. I think that was a very insightful session. If there are any closing words from you and from me too, and we shall wrap up the session, ma'am.
As much as I was looking forward to it, I am so happy that you touched on the points which nobody talks about. Actually, nobody wants to know what is happening in these schools because they only see the numbers. Oh, so many children. But then what is happening to so many children? Nobody is interested to know. So thank you so much, Jerry and Itu and your Rex leader. What is it called? Rex
Karmavir,
ideas.
Yes, correct.
Rex ideas, huh?
Rex Ideas
Next
for Action.
ideas
Yeah.
for action.
Yes, it's really beautiful, and more such I know so many schools who are doing so well in Zilla Parishad schools, in village schools, and they will get more motivated when they see ki, yes, this is also equally important. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Thank you so much once
Thank
again.
you, ma'am. Thank you
Namaste.
for joining us, and a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you.
So I'd like to say in the end that that's the spirit. Inclusivity is the spirit at Rex Karavir. We had schools like Wellams and Mayo and DPS and Shriram's, and we had schools like aided schools who were doing such beautiful, innovative work. So exclusivity and spirit, learning to learn, is what we stand for, and we'd like to bring on these kind of models and these kind of learnings for everyone. And that's the spirit that we live for. That teachers are awakeners and transformers and reformers because they make the world a better place. What you do and how you touch your children, that is going to go out in the world, and that's how the world will be. So we have to deal with it with sensibility and sensitivity
Yes.
that comes from teachers. Thank you so much, Dr. Sangeeta. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Namaste,
so much,
and
Jerry.
have a
You're
good
most
evening. See you.
welcome.
Bye bye. Yeah.
Bye bye. Thank you.